Hi, everyone. It's Marcia Martin, the Heart Healer. And today we are getting an opportunity to look at how to pray from the heart. And if you're anything like me, you may have grown up and learned some prayers, memorized some prayers so that you could recite them without even thinking about them, without connecting to them, without knowing what you were praying. You were just mumbling words. That was me for a really long time. And I never thought that prayer had much power because I couldn't connect with what I was saying, number one. And number two, it wasn't coming from my heart. I was just kind of babbling some words that I had memorized a long time ago that had no real meaning to me. So while we're in this incredibly intense energy that is just continuing and strengthening, we want to make sure that we are as connected as we can possibly be through the heart, which is our connection to God, so that whatever is going on, whatever we need to process, whatever we need to work through, it doesn't hit and hurt. It just allows us to move through it gently, gracefully, beautifully into those higher realms of love, joy, and peace. And prayer is so important to be able to help us do this, because prayer is when we are actively talking to God about a concern. That's why it has to come from our heart, because if it's just mumbled words that we memorized a long time ago because someone told us to, it's not going to be what's on our heart. It's going to be what was on someone else's heart a long time ago. So today we want to learn how to structure our own prayers and offer them in a way that will make us feel honored. We know that we're connected to God and we cannot break that connection. But we need to feel honored by our prayer. God always hears us, but we're not always sure about that. Because when we just mumble what someone told us to say, we're not paying attention, and we don't think God should be paying attention either. So now we're going to learn how to pray a prayer that speaks to our heart, that can communicate our desire to God. Now, God already knows what you're going to ask for, has already delivered it before it has even occurred to you. So prayer is really for us to understand that we are so valuable, that God is willing to hear us. So let's do prayer from the heart in a way that will be most honoring and self-loving. So, from our guides, dearest hearts, you have become a divided society, and thereby you've weakened the fabric of your manifestations. If you are to prosper, you must prosper as one body and not as individual units that can exist without the other or without caring for one another. We have to remember these physical bodies that we're occupying are just units of clothing in the energetic realm, which we can never completely leave because that's who we are. We are 100% connected to each other and to God. Now, we do, through free will, have the ability to say, I want my connection to be so teeny tiny that I feel isolated and all alone. However, it can never be completely dissolved. If that happened, you would cease to exist. So no one can completely dissolve their connection. The only thing you can do is make it smaller, which is exceedingly uncomfortable, but we experiment with everything, and that's okay. We have to remember that Because each of us is on a journey that's unique to the individual. We cannot walk another's path for them. So if you see someone doing something that makes you uncomfortable, wrap them in a blanket of pink and gold light and let them do that which is for their highest good, and let them go on the journey that speaks to their heart. Their free will prohibits you from preventing them from exploring the depths of their choices. You can run in there and try to say, no, stop. Don't do that. Don't take that drug, take that drink, don't drive down that road. You can do that. And you may be effective in stopping them from that at that particular moment. But if that is part of their journey, if they are supposed to explore that thing that's not going to turn out well, you've got to bow to their highest good and their free will and allow them to explore. We don't know why we make the choices we make sometimes. However, if we look back at all of those choices that seem idiotic from where we are now, you have to ask yourself, would I have learned as much as I have learned if every time I was going to make one of these stupid choices, somebody came and stopped me? I know I wouldn't. However, even though we can't stop them, we are not free from the obligation of loving and being of assistance to another. This, then, is where prayer is one of our most valuable assets. Done with right intention, right knowledge, and right belief, prayer is stronger than any other force, and no weapon formed against you can prosper in the presence of prayer. Not mumbled prayer that you are praying without having to be home in the least little bit. I can say the Lord's Prayer and not think about any of the words. They'll just come out because I memorized it. It doesn't make it an effective prayer. It's not going to protect me against any anxiety or darkness or low vibrational thinking that's trying to come against me. Because I wasn't energetically available when I said that prayer. I didn't connect with it. I just said a lot of words. It could have been in a foreign language that I didn't understand for the amount of benefit that I got from just saying it. Now, if I were to take the time to connect first, feel those words and say them with meaning, really thinking about what I'm saying, then it would be a completely different experience. So you don't have to abandon prayers that you know. You just need to tune in and pray them like you mean it and understand what it is that you're praying. And that's also the problem that I had with some of those prayers that I had memorized. I didn't even know what they were talking about. So now they're back to our guides. Therefore, let us examine how to pray to get results instead of just repeating words that were written by the hand of another. Although we don't demand that you abandon conventional prayer, we must ask that you stop the droning repetition. When you mumble on with words that you've memorized but have never connected with, you may be successful in clearing your mind of all thought, but you will not feel the lightheartedness that comes from establishing a true connection. Now, when they say lightheartedness in this particular instance, it's not ha-ha funny. I don't take it seriously. It is joy. It is uplifting. It is, oh my gosh, I feel wonderful. That's the kind of lightheartedness. A lighter heart, literally, is what they're saying. Unless you connect fully with the words you utter, they will be meaningless to you. You would be just as well served by offering a single syllable or another form of mind entertainment that allows you to go beyond the words to the God center that lies within all. What do they mean by mind entertainment, a focal point for your mind so it stops wandering all around and thinking what you have to do next, what you should have done already, what you're having for lunch or dinner or breakfast or whatever it is. So many people, especially when I was first introduced to meditation, you were given the chant, Om, and you were encouraged to say it out loud. I am not thrilled in a meditation practice about talking out loud. It seems to disconnect me. So all of my words are generally, when I'm in my meditative prayer, are generally spoken within my mind. But there are other times when I do speak a prayer out loud. And there are times when I just can't get focused at all. And then I will use some repetitive word, a chant, a word, something that feels good to me, that helps me settle into the focus so that I can either pray or meditate or both. So the words of well-loved prayers, if understood, if connected to you, and if felt by the heart, will take you on a deeper journey within. Some of these prayers were written by some of the holiest people that walked on the face of the earth to this time. They had that deep God connection, and they were trying to share it with all of us. But they would never, if they were here today, say to you, just say what I say and don't try to understand. They would want you to have a deep personal connection. And so they wrote these prayers, first of all, because they were filled to overflowing with joy and gratitude for their connection with God, and they wanted to share it. But they wrote the prayers also so you would have an example, so you would know what it feels like to pray a full-bodied prayer. So these prayers will be capable of helping you establish a heart connection and enabling you to feel the weightlessness of joy as you connect fully. But if you repeat words without connecting and comprehending them, the prayer becomes an imposed habit or ritual that has no personal meaning. I cannot tell you the times that I sat in church and they would say that a prayer, generally the Lord's Prayer, and I would just tune out and say the words. It could have been a sacred, wonderful time of connection for me. Instead, it just became a nobody's home time. It's nothing more than a bunch of words when you don't connect, that are presented by an outside source that's trying to help you establish a path to God. Even if their intentions are good, the effect will be negligible unless you understand and can connect through the utterance of that prayer. You are much better coming from your heart and sincerely saying, God, I need help, than you are saying the Lord's Prayer or any other prayer that you've memorized without connecting. The depth of the emotional sharing that comes when you just say, God, I need help, as opposed to, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. There's no connection when I repeat a memorized prayer, but when I allow it, that heart-connected prayer does what I cannot do if I am merely reciting words. So, as one energetic body separated into individual physical bodies, you view yourselves as powerless in many ways, and that is something that we've got to change. As a singular energetic body, you are powerful beyond measure. It's not your power that's lacking, it's your understanding. So from this point forward, we ask that you pray without ceasing for yourselves and for each other, for the world and for the empowerment of all beings. Your success, your neighbor's success, the world's success depends on your prayerful offering. Therefore, you must understand how to pray. First, let go of how you want it to be. When you pray, ask for your desired result. Absolutely set an intention. Don't just go in there open-ended, I don't know, anything would be better than this. Ask for your desired result, but then willingly release that result and open your heart to receiving that which is for your highest good. This accomplishes two things. First, it gives your mind a focal point. I now have the desired outcome to focus upon. And secondly, I have entrusted the outcome to God. I recognize I cannot see the whole picture. I understand I might not know what's best. And I am now choosing to let go of my small clouded vision and allow God to present the perfect outcome. Therefore, the first element of a powerful prayer is trust. I don't care how long you've been on this planet. You do not know more than God, and you're not going to. Learn to trust. Learn to let go of your desired outcome. Create an outcome to focus on. I want to win $1 million in the lottery tomorrow. Okay, that's a beautiful desire for you to focus on. Now let go of the outcome. Just let go. Just let whatever is for your highest good come forward for you at the appropriate time. You don't know what's best, but God does. You must trust that God has heard you, has answered you, and that universal intelligence sees more, knows more, and hears more than you do. This means that their judgment, the wisdom by which they answer, is superior to yours. In addition, their wisdom is steeped in the essence, which is unconditional love. An answered prayer will not play favorites. Really, let's get this down deep in our hearts, because I have heard and read a lot of social media posts that are inappropriate, and we need to stop this. We're not children playing games anymore. And I'm not talking about people that are generally on these calls. This is people I don't know. But the more educated we become, the more we can help the collective consciousness be educated. And as soon as someone is willing, that information will be available to them as well. But please, answered prayer doesn't play favorites. God doesn't like you and hate the other one, or vice versa. It doesn't manipulate circumstances to hurt another person or cause harm in any way. That is not answered prayer. You cannot pray a curse on someone. If these things happen, they are not a result of your prayer. Never. You may believe this to be true. You may even tell people that you prayed for their destruction, but you would not be telling the truth. You will be telling what you believe to be true, but it is not God's truth. You would merely be playing out a fantasy of your own making. Answered prayer doesn't hurt, harm, or manipulate. There may be times when the answer or the circumstance appear to support your false belief, but again, that would be, get this really clear, because you or another party created a false reality in which you agree to receive unloving treatment or feel lost or abandoned. We are so powerful that we can agree to something that doesn't exist and act as though it does exist, which is unloving circumstances. That doesn't exist when you've allowed God to steer the ship. Doesn't mean that you will never be challenged. It means that you will know, even in the midst of your challenge, that you are loved and you are capable. So when I see a social media post that says, I'm cursing all the people who were mean to me, or I forget what I read recently, or I'm going to pray that God strikes you dead, that's just baloney. God will not do that. That is not answered prayer. And the only way that something could happen to a person that you prayed destruction onto is if they believed that that was possible and they agreed to accept it into their reality. If they say, okay, I'll see you later, have a lovely day, and they stay in their high place of love, joy, and peace, there's no way that all of your cursing or your moaning and groaning or complaining is going to affect their life in any way. They're in their high place. They're not on the same vibrational level that you are. They moved themselves up into the beautiful space of love, joy, and peace. And so that's all they're going to experience. You can keep your negativity and your cursing and you will experience that, but they will not. Your free will allows you to experience alternative realities that support your limiting beliefs. This is not because you're either unloved or being punished. God doesn't punish, but because you are so loved that you've been given the free will to explore any belief system that appeals to you. Unless we try it out, most of us are not willing to believe that we don't want it. That's why we're allowed to try. No matter how far you run from Source, the authentic self, the soul, the you that is you, cannot be harmed. You cannot cease to exist or become separated from God. There is no death. Only the physical body is capable of no longer being able to sustain life in the physical form. But the energetic goes on forever. You can, however, create the illusion that you are separate. Remember, this is only an illusion. Therefore, whenever you desire, you may return to the loving arms of God, where you can feel the unconditional love that never ceased to be. Just because you want to turn off the tap, it doesn't mean that the love has stopped pouring out onto you. You've just decided that you're going to put up an umbrella or put on a raincoat or whatever. And so therefore you're going to allow very little of that love to get into you. But as soon as you decide to take off the raincoat or put away your umbrella, it's all right there. It's been waiting for you, and it will embrace you and lift you higher, if you allow it. Trust is the first factor in an effective prayer, and intent is the second. You must enter into the prayerful state with the intention that you're doing something of great value. You must believe that your prayer makes a difference and that it has purpose and power. If you mutter a string of words so you can say you've prayed, you have no trust and you never intended that your prayer would be impactful. Never once, while I was muttering those prayers that I memorized, did I believe that this was going to affect my life in any positive way. I was merely doing it because someone told me I had to do it. Prayer cannot become powerful unless you allow it to be so. Unleash the power of your prayers by being focused on what you're saying. Connect through the heart and send your prayer not out into empty air, but within you into the light of love, the eternal flame that burns within your heart. The universal source that is the supreme creator who hears and answers every request with unconditional love. Now, let's get clear on something. It is still unconditionally loving to allow you to encounter a challenge if that means that you will grow exponentially. If you were never challenged and never given the opportunity to grow stronger, you would not feel loved. You would feel worthless, weak, foolish. When we strengthen our muscles, our immune system, any part of our physical body, we immediately feel better. We've got to do the same with our spiritual bodies. Strengthen so that we can feel solid and strong. This day, pray with intention. Mean what you say and pray from the heart. Recognize your connection to God and all things and pray for the well-being, the upliftment, and the empowerment of all. When one of you rises from a place of love, all others who are willing rise with you. One prayer can raise the entire body of willing bodies. Think what united prayer efforts can do. No one can be left behind unless they have chosen to remain in the darkness of their own making. So let's get clear on another thing that I have read recently on social media. We have not entered a time when God is doing pick and choose. You are not going to leave your loved ones or your family behind because some mass ascension has come and the good ones are going and the bad ones are staying. There's no such thing, number one. God doesn't play favorites. Everyone is a favorite. And number two, no one's going anywhere unless you choose to let go of the physical body and return to your energetic state. The ascension happens within the energetic body, raising the consciousness of all. The physical body doesn't go anywhere. It gets healthier, but it doesn't need to go anywhere. So you're not going to suddenly be whisked off into the sky and leave behind those that have chosen not yet to have this experience with God. That's not the way it works. Why come if we're just going to be lifted off and leave those who are still uncertain and unsure behind? Then we would not be doing the work of God. No, we stay and we help until we're ready to leave, until we're ready to return to the energetic state. We continue praying and uplifting and putting as much love into our own lives so that it can spill out over onto everyone around us. That's how we do our work, and that's how we uplift, and that is how ascension occurs. But we don't point fingers at people and say, you're not good enough to join me. We encourage them to be uplifted. We've now learned to trust God and to pray with intention. Now you must pray always and only through the heart with expectation. If you're going to be receptive to the answer which was formed before you began praying, you must pray from a place of expectation. Now that doesn't mean that you say, I want this and only this and that's it. Otherwise, forget it. I'm mad. No, it just means you are expecting an answer that is for your highest good. You must pray knowing God is capable of answering and will always answer with unconditional love. Therefore, pray and ask, but don't beg. And I'm emphasizing that because I was the biggest prayer beggar in the world. Either I was mumbling nonsense or I was begging. Ask with certainty and then relax into knowingness and gratitude. When you're certain something is going to happen, you don't keep asking and asking for it to appear. You simply sit back and relax into a place of thanksgiving. Now, because of experiences that I had as a young girl, I was never able to really feel confident that I was being heard and the answer would be forthcoming. So I became a prayer beggar, begging, because answers generally didn't happen. And then that pattern continued into my adult years. I wasn't sitting back and relaxing in gratitude. I was still trying to control how it was going to happen because I didn't believe it was going to happen. And because I didn't believe it, it usually didn't. However, when you sit back and relax into a place of thanksgiving, you are grateful for the answer. You're grateful that it will be exactly what's best for your highest good, even if it's not what you asked for. Trusting in the love God holds for you, you may ask for confirmation that you've been heard, but once is sufficient to ask. Gratitude should then replace the desire. The desire has been met. Gratitude for being heard. Gratitude for being answered. Gratitude for having that which is for your highest good brought into your life as you surrender to the perfection that will be brought forth on your behalf. There's no need to beg or cajole. God is not withholding anything from you. Simply enter into your prayerful state from a place of trust. Then speak from your heart and connect with your powerful intention as you end with gratitude for being heard and answered with all that is for your highest good. It's such a simple process, but yet when I began this journey, I used to hear over and over, it's so simple, and I would think, yes, but it's just so difficult. When you are carrying around limiting beliefs and negative thoughts, or just baggage, trauma, it is so difficult to even do the simplest of tasks. So as always, if you're not already on the mailing list, get on our mailing list. You will receive a daily inspiration. It will help you. It will inspire you to stay on the track, to let go of the baggage. But if you need help beyond that, if you feel that you just can't do it on your own, send me a message. My website is marciamartinthehearthealer.com. Marcia, M-A-R-C-I-A, martinthehearthealer.com. Go on the contact page, send me a message, and make an appointment. I offer a free 30-minute session for first-time folks to help you really see who you are, where you want to go, and what is available in terms of help for you. Or if you even need help, we need to explore it together. You're not by yourself. Now, let's take a look at everything they've shared with us, and then, as always, star 2 if you have a question about prayer. But I want to make sure that we end with a prayer, and it doesn't have to be from me. If one of you is really brave and wants to be the prayer leader, you are welcome. If not, I will share a prayer just from my heart. I was going to write one, and I thought, you know what? No. I'm going to pray what comes to my heart for all of us on this call today, instead of something that I've written previously that I may not connect with in the same way when we're all here together. So, star 2 if you have a question or you'd like to be the person who says the prayer today. If not, I will share my prayer with you at the end of the call, because I just want to go over one more time, because this is so, so important. If I had had this information in the beginning of my spiritual journey instead of 20 years into it, I really believe that I could have sped up my progress tremendously. So that's the goal, is practical spirituality, sharing with you what I have learned the hard way to help you shorten your journey. Okay, so first thing to remember, we are one energetic body. Yes, we have chosen to separate into physical bodies. We each have this different outer coating that we've chosen to attach to for a certain period of time so that we can go on these journeys and grow exponentially. But we have to remember that separation is an illusion that is restricted to the physical plane. If you were to have a near-death experience, let's say you're in an accident and it's so severe that your body, your spirit actually leaves the body. We all know of many different times that people report they've had a near-death experience. Not one of them says, oh yes, I could see that everybody was separated. No, they all talk about the unity, the harmony, the love, the joy, the peace. Nobody says, oh yeah, we were separated by color, age, race, religion. No, you never hear that. You hear of the love, the peace, the unification. We are one body. So let's honor each other in the best way we can, and that is through prayer, because we cannot interfere. We've been given free will. We can watch somebody make a mistake, and if it is, you can say, oh, are you sure you want to do that? You can even say, don't do that. But you know what? If it is for their highest good, they should do it. They need to have that experience for whatever reason. Let them have the experience, but lift them up in prayer. Pray for their protection, their safety, for their wisdom, for their ability to move through it, as you pray for your own. Please don't neglect yourself. If you are not strong, you're not going to be available to help anyone else. So start with yourself first. Don't say, oh, I'll think about me later. No, think about you first. Then you're more powerful and more effective when you go to help the other people. So, remembering about prayer, right intention, right knowledge, right belief, if you're going to get results. Now, if you just want to say some pretty words, say some pretty words, but that's not a prayer. So, don't come to God's altar as a beggar who has to plead. Whoever started that, I don't know where it got started, but it's not correct. We must come as beloved children who trust that they will be heard and answered. Think back to your own children or to your grandchildren, or if you don't have children, to children that you've seen with their parents. They expect to be heard and to be answered. It is no different with God, who is our Father. He loves us unconditionally. There's never a question whether God will answer. There's a question, are we listening? And when we ask that question, think about our own children. How many times did we say, are you listening to me? Did you hear me? God's probably doing the same darn thing with us. Did you hear me? Probably not exasperated like I used to get with my kids when they were little, but probably asking, can you just shut it off for a minute and listen? I want us all to begin praying to get results by fully connecting to the words that we're saying and through the heart center. If you try to stay in your head, it will make intellectual sense, and that's good. That's a beginning. But if you really, and this is true for any type of manifestation, the head, the mind, the intellect forms what it is that you may want. But you must add the emotion and the feeling part of it if it's really going to take off. So if you were a car, the intellect would be the body of the car and even the engine, all of the outer parts of it. But the emotion would be the gas pedal. You're not going anywhere in that car unless you press on the gas. So if you want to get your prayer life up and going, really rev it up, hit that gas pedal, but know what you're praying for and know that God will hear and answer you. And pray without my way or the highway. Pray with that open heart that says, I trust you, God, to bring that which is for my highest good. So, memorized prayer that's said by rote, no power unless you are taking the time to connect with the words. We can't mumble words hoping God will make sense of them. We must boldly but lovingly state our desires and our gratitude for receiving them. Otherwise, I remember sitting in church and reciting the prayer and just saying, well, I don't know what this means, but God will figure it out. Talk about not wanting a result. That was pretty certain I wasn't going to get one. Gratitude in advance says, I trust I will receive. Therefore, I'm grateful. But we have to be careful that we don't use pretend gratitude. This was another hole that I fell into. I heard about gratitude. Oh, I'm going to pretend everything is lovely. But I had no emotional connection to it. I couldn't get over the hurdle that it wasn't lovely, that I was supposed to pretend that it was lovely. And so I was just faking with no connection. So I would say things like, I know I should say thank you, but I probably won't get what I asked for. And then I would feel like I had expressed gratitude. Didn't get a whole lot of results out of that practice, I got to tell you. But I got a whole lot of learning. So maybe I did get a whole lot of results. Words remain meaningless unless we assign meaning to them. Our heart connection is how we assign the meaning, and that's how we give the power to our prayer. Even if you are to pray in a language that you don't understand, as long as your heart is connecting, as you are feeling as though, oh, these are holy words and this is expressing my love and my joy and my appreciation to God, that's going to be more effective than if you just mumble on words that you're not connecting with at all. If you don't connect with the words, saying the prayer is just a waste of your energy. So instead of repeating verbatim, which is literally trying to bring the outside in, trying to say something outside of me, this prayer that I memorized, is more powerful than me, so I want to try to bring it inside me to give me power. I want you to go in reverse. Allow the inside to expand until it fills the air around you by connecting with God through the heart. So when I say, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, I'm hoping that all those big words are somehow going to make me something better. However, if I were to connect with that prayer, Our Father, my Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. If I'm going to pray that way, and I know what those words mean, and I make it a point to connect with them, I'm feeling it inside, and I'm growing bigger and expanding and becoming more powerful with each word, not more asleep. My energy becomes magnified when I move from inside out instead of from outside in. And I want your energy to be magnified. So, inside out instead of outside in. You are more than enough. Even if you don't realize it, I realize it for you. Pray from the inside out and just watch what happens. So, how should we pray? Let go of how you want it to be. Surrender. I know that feels like a not nice word. We are so tied to fighting for what we want. We need to learn to surrender, not in defeat. You are not defeated when you surrender to Mother, Father, God. When you say, I trust, I surrender to your wisdom, you're recognizing that you don't know everything. When you say, I surrender to the bully, you're saying, I'm powerless and I believe that you are more powerful than I am. And then you're just giving up. This is not give up. This is joining your will to the highest will of God for maximum benefit for you. State your desired result and then release it. Think of it as a balloon, as though you had placed the prayer inside a helium balloon and you're holding on to the string. And when you finish the prayer, you just let go. You open your hand, you just let go, and you then wait in grateful expectation for the answer, which will always be your highest good. And that doesn't mean no challenge. So, just to be clear, the highest good sometimes can mean a difficult circumstance if it will result in growth that could not have been achieved any other way. And if it couldn't have been achieved any other way, it's probably because you're blocking it. There was probably an easy way that you chose not to take. I know there was for me, and I didn't take it any of the times it was offered. But that challenge, those challenges, wouldn't change a minute. They were wonderful. Your desired outcome, the thing that you think you want, is your focal point. So it's like a divining rod for your mind. It says, look at me, focus here, send energy this way. Yet it's imperative that you don't get caught up in the ego adventure of I know best. The mind really needs a place to focus. But the ego can step in and try to say, oh, but no, dear. You don't need to just let go of this. You need to micromanage it because you know better. You got to get out of that habit. We don't know better. And the way into a heap of trouble is to pretend that we do. So, first step, trust the all-seeing wisdom of the divine rather than our obscured, clouded, limited vision. Also, trust that you've been heard. No begging, just asking once. Remember, the question, the desire, and receiving the desire are in two vibrational places, two different vibrational places. So if you keep asking, you're in place A. But the answer is being sent to place B. So unless you get yourself out of asking mode and into receiving mode, you're not going to get the answer, even though it's been continuously being sent to you. Ask once, immediately into receptive gratitude, and trust that you've been answered. Entering that receptive mood, get busy looking and listening for your answer. You formulated the question, that was beautiful, the asking. Beautiful, way to go. Now, open your eyes. Is somebody standing there holding out the answer to you? Will you just run into some random stranger? If you are receptive, yes, prayer is answered through other people. Most generally, it's not God sending an angel down to your backyard with a message. It usually comes through another person, situation, or circumstance. And also, trust that only love will be the end product, because no hurt or harm can come from prayer. Free will allows you to interpret circumstances as punishment if that appeals to you. Remember, we got this great free will going on. If you want to feel like you're being punished, nobody's going to stop you from having that experience. It's just not a very pleasant experience. So even when you act irrationally, you're still loved. Since it's impossible to separate from God, you're always safe. You may not remain in the physical body. It may choose not to stay strong. You will not be harmed, because you're not that body. You are the energetic being that has chosen to inhabit this particular clothing unit for a certain period of time. Now remember our intent. I want you to recognize the value of prayer and treat it as a treasured companion instead of a worthless husk. I never used to think of prayer as something that had real value. It was something I was supposed to do. So again, did my prayer have much, did it do anything? No, because I didn't believe that it could, and it didn't really have any value to me. It was basically worthless, just something that I was supposed to do. Focus on the meaning to unleash their power. And remember, we want to uplift everyone and release each one from the darkness if they are willing. Don't get caught up, so-and-so, Susie down the street is staying dark. That's Susie's choice, let her be. She will make the decision when she's ready, and you nagging won't change her mind. Pray through the heart with expectation followed by gratitude. Ask with certainty. Expect to be answered. Relax into gratitude. The answer will always be that which is for our highest good. So let us ground ourselves in gratitude. Gratitude for being heard and answered and for receiving that highest good as we surrender to God's superior wisdom. It is so much easier when we just let go of how we believe it should be and allow God to show us the way that would be best for us. But you have to let go of, I want it now. What if it's not available now? You have to let go of this and only this. And you have to let go of, I made a mistake. God doesn't love me anymore. This is just baloney created by the ego, even from people who are well-intentioned. Let those well-intentioned, confused people off the hook. Just don't follow what they tell you to follow. Instead, check in with your heart. See whether it feels good to your heart. If it feels off, it is off. I don't care how long the person says they have been in ministry or how many visions they've had from God or how many years of study. If it doesn't feel good to you, you are under no obligation to follow their advice. But I do ask that you don't argue with the person. That's not going to help anybody move forward. But you might want to say, oh, that's very interesting. And then go and have some quiet time and ask God, does this make sense? I'm not sure about this. Can you help me out, God? Can you explain to me why I should feel bad? Why I should be feel like I'm worthless? That doesn't feel right to me, God. Can you explain whether that's really from you? God is never going to say, no, I'm busy. That's never going to happen. But trying to argue with someone who has convinced themselves that God is an angry God and some people are sinners or we're all sinners or however they want to put it, don't get into that discussion. Just, oh, that's interesting. And then if you feel you should, if it's nagging at you, if you think, maybe that was true, investigate it for yourself. But if it doesn't feel good, just throw it away and bless the person. They are doing the best they know how. It may not be what feels best to you. That's okay. We don't always have to agree. We are all on the best journey for us. Not for your neighbor, for you. Not even for your children. And this is hard for those of us who are parents. We gotta let our children go on their own journeys as well and trust that God will steer them in the right direction. Cover them in prayer, absolutely. Surround them in blankets of pink and gold light, that unconditional love of God. But no fear, no anxiety, no worry. That just gets between you and the miracle that you're seeking for yourself or your children. Say that prayer, ask for the miracle that you desire, and expect to receive. Okay, so let's say our prayer. Star 2, if you would like to be our prayer leader today. If not, I will be the one to say our prayer. Don't forget, Marcia, Marcia, Marcia Martin, thehearthealer.com. If you feel that you need to have someone to work with you to help you understand your spiritual journey or to recover from previous trauma or even trauma that you're on that's ongoing that we can help you move out of. Marcia Martin, thehearthealer.com. All right, so let's take a deep breath and close our eyes. If you like, you can place your hands over your heart or in front of you, whatever feels most comfortable, whatever allows you to enter into a place of beautiful connectivity. Another deep breath of gratitude. Mother, Father, God, we thank you. We thank you for loving us. We thank you for guiding us and directing us. We thank you for keeping us safe, even when we try so hard to make our lives difficult. We thank you that nothing can separate us from you. We thank you that no matter how far we wander, we are welcomed back with open arms. And today we ask that everyone who is in need of any kind of miracle, whether it be financial or health or relationships, whatever is hurting and needs to be repaired in any of the lives of any of the people anywhere in the world, We ask that you bless them. You bless them with answers, with the miracle that they seek. We ask that you allow this prayer to go forth into the world and to touch the hearts and minds that are all those who are open to receiving, that they can deepen their connection with you just as we too have learned to deepen our connection with you. We love you so much because you make it so easy for us to explore, to make mistakes and get right back up again and try again. You make it easy for us to learn and to grow and to become stronger and more powerful. You bring delight to each day. We thank you. So we open our hearts and our minds to you even more fully than we ever have before, asking you to bless us in new and more wondrous ways that we can help ourselves and our families, and then, as guided, we can reach out and touch the hearts and minds of others in whatever way you guide us to do so. We thank you so much for loving us, for loving those that we love and even those that we don't love, for teaching us how to love it all. Thank you for this blessing and for all blessings that will be forthcoming. And we thank you, Mother, Father, God. We thank you. We love you. And we surrender to all that is for our highest good. Always and forever. Amen. And now from my heart to yours, I'm sending you love. Until next Wednesday.